What's the time you or someone you knew broke a rule they absolutely weren't supposed to, and it completely backfired or exploded in unexpected ways? Okay, so I'm typing this on my lunch break in my car because I honestly don't know if telling this story is like bad karma or something. But whatever. Y'all asked for rules you're not supposed to break, and I swear on my grandmother's crocheted pillow that I watched someone break one in real time and it wrecked every part of my life for about a year and a half. This happened when I was 19. I worked at this weird in-between place that wasn't quite a gas station and wasn't quite a diner. It was like if a truck stop had a baby with a 24-hour convenience store and then raised it behind a pawn shop. That kind of vibe. Neon lights buzzing. A parking lot that always smelled like gasoline and sadness. The whole thing run by a boss who looked permanently exhausted, like he'd been awake for the last 40 years. Anyway, at this place there was a rule that every employee told you during your first shift like it was a hazing ritual. If he comes in, don't serve him. Don't talk to him. Don't even acknowledge him. Just go to the back. No name, no explanation, just he. I thought it was some joke, like a new guy prank. It wasn't. My first sighting of him was about a month into working there. It was 3:14 a.m. I remember the exact time because I had been staring at the clock thinking, 3 more hours. Don't fall asleep standing up like last week. And then the door dinged open. This guy walks in wearing this huge, old-fashioned gray coat that looked like it belonged in a 1940s detective movie. Not dirty, not ripped, just old, like museum, old. And he had this weird stillness to him. Not stiff, not robotic, just quiet in a way that made the rest of the world feel too loud. I should have gone to the back. Everyone told me, if he comes in, go to the back. But I was alone on shift and I froze. Like my brain just stalled out and went, what do I do? While my body stood there like a Windows XP error. He didn't look at me, didn't look at anything. He walked straight to the refrigerated drink case in the back. I couldn't see his face because of the angle, but I could see the way his coat swayed, like there was a breeze even though the store air was dead still. He opened the cooler door and grabbed a bottle of water. Now here's where it got weird. The bottle wasn't one of ours, like the shape was off. More cylindrical. Label was blank, cap was metal on a water bottle. It looked like something from a prop department. He brings it to the counter and just stands there and my idiot 19-year-old self says, hey, that's not one of ours. He slowly tilts his head like he's learning the motion for the very first time and says in a voice that sounded normal but also somehow incorrect, it is now. I swear something in my stomach flipped upside down like it wanted to escape through my spine. I ring it up because what else do you do when a strange man tells you reality just changed? The register glitches like static across a TV. Then the total says $1,000. He nods once and leaves. No ding from the door. No sound of his footsteps on the pavement, just gone. The next morning, my boss calls me into the tiny office in the back. He closes the door, which he's never done before, and literally whispers, you talk to him. I'm like, bro, who the guy in the old coat? He puts his head in his hands and goes, you weren't supposed to acknowledge him. Then he explains in the vaguest, most infuriating way possible that this man has been coming in for decades. Multiple people at the store have seen him. He always takes the same bottle. He always leaves without paying. And if you talk to him, weird things start happening to you. Define weird. No. Just don't come to work for the next week. Which was honestly the first nice thing my boss had ever done for me. I go home and, okay, I'm not saying I believe in supernatural stuff because I really didn't back then, but small things started getting off. First, it was the clocks. Every clock in my apartment, phone, microwave, wall clock, all started showing different times, not random times. Times that were close to each other but not quite right, like 3:12, 3:14, 3:11, 3:13 hovering around the time I saw him. Even after resetting them, they'd drift back. Then my water started tasting metallic. Not bad, just like I was drinking coins. Then I started waking up with these dreams that weren't dreams. More like memories that didn't belong to me, like walking through a city I'd never visited, or hearing languages I'd never heard, all in that same strange, wrong quietness he carried with him. But the worst part, the part that made me realize that everyone at that store wasn't just messing around, happened about 2 weeks later. I was brushing my teeth and leaned down to splash water on my face. When I looked up, the man in the old gray coat was standing behind me in the mirror. Not like a horror jump scare, not like a monster. He just stood there like I'd caught him waiting politely. I spun around and he wasn't there. When I looked back in the mirror, he was gone from there too. That night, I went back to the store. My coworkers acted like I was returning from a war. One guy gave me a free muffin. Another just said, "Glad you made it back," like I'd been lost in the woods. I asked my boss, actually begged him, to explain the rule. And finally he did, or at least the part he knew, apparently decades ago. Before the store was even built, the land belonged to some old research facility, government or private, no one knew. They supposedly closed it down after incidents, which is exactly the kind of word that makes you want to set yourself on fire from stress. Workers who built the store said they saw a man in a coat wandering the grounds before the concrete was even poured. Same coat, same stillness, same habit of appearing without sound. He isn't a ghost. They don't think he's even dead. They don't think he's alive in the normal way either. He's just left over. My boss said, and the rule: if you acknowledge him, he notices you noticing him, and then he tries to understand you. Every hair on my body stood up like I was being scanned by a barcode reader. Does he hurt people? I asked. He doesn't mean to. That was somehow worse. The weird things didn't fully stop after that. The clocks took a month to sync again. The metallic taste faded slowly, and sometimes I still get those stranger memories when I'm half asleep, but the man never came back into the store during one of my shifts, and I swear, he only ever showed up for me once more. Last year I'm 23, now I was on a bus heading home from a late-class rainy window headphones in doing that zoned-out stare at nothing, and I see a reflection in the glass. A man in a gray coat standing outside the bus stop we were pulling away from, not moving, not watching me, just there, like a reminder, like a bookmark in a story I wasn't supposed to read. I don't work at that store anymore. I moved 3 cities over. I don't talk to anyone from there, except one friend who says the rule still stands. If he comes in, don't acknowledge him, don't look at him, just go to the back. And honestly, I wish I'd listened. So, okay, I don't usually post stuff like this because my friends call me dramatic, and my sister literally says I have main character syndrome, which is rude but also maybe a little valid. Still, every time I see a thread asking, "What's a rule you learned the hard way to never break?" I think about this whole disaster, and honestly, I still don't know if it was real or if the entire town gaslit me, and weirdly, either option makes it worse. Anyway, this happened when I was 17, in the kind of small town where gossip is the local economy and the only place open past 8 p.m. is the Walgreens pharmacy window. Think, quiet, flat, too many churches, too many trucks, too many secrets. And in our town, there was one rule. Everyone knew it. No one explained it. It was just something you were raised into. Never be outside between 3:33 and 3:36 a.m. Not 3 a.m., not 4 a.m. Those exact 3 minutes. I used to think it was to stop kids from sneaking out, but adults followed it too. Like, my dad, who didn't care if I lived, died, or turned into a raccoon, would physically check the locks every night at exactly 330, like he was clocking into a second job. My neighbor, Mrs. Keene, would literally wake up from a dead sleep to close her curtains for those 3 minutes. The town Facebook page even had this pinned post that said, "Friendly reminder, observe the quiet minutes. Stay inside. Lights off, curtains closed. Thank you." If you asked why people got weird, not angry, just blank. Like you asked a question they couldn't process. My grandma told me it was tradition. My dad said it's just how things are. My best friend said, "Dude, don't overthink it." So of course I overthought it. And then of course I decided to break the rule because I was 17, which is basically the age where your brain is made of wet cardboard and impulse decisions. It happened on June 12th. I remember because I wrote the date in like 6 journals after and I had this sudden, overwhelming urge to see what the big deal was. Like a compulsion almost. Not rebellious, not curious, just pulled. At 3:29 a.m., I opened my bedroom window. At 3:31, I sat on the sill. At 3:33, I slid one leg out into the night, and the moment my foot touched the porch, everything went silent. Not quiet silent, like someone had sucked the sound out of the world with a vacuum. No cicadas, no air conditioner hum, no wind in the trees, no blood in my ears, just this thick, unnatural, suffocating silence that made my heartbeat feel too loud. Then I noticed the streetlights. They weren't off. They were frozen, like the light wasn't moving, like it had shape, like dust motes were hanging in mid-air inside the glow. The houses across the street looked wrong too. Not different, not scary, just staged, like props, like a set built too quickly. I told myself I was imagining it. I told myself it was just sleep deprivation, but my hands were shaking. Then I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate. Impossibly even footsteps coming from down the sidewalk, but not sound footsteps because the world was still silent. These were vibrations, like I could feel each step in my bones. I should have gone inside. I don't know why I didn't. I felt observed, like something expected me to stay still. And then I saw him, a tall man walking down the middle of the street, not bothering with sidewalks or obstacles. He moved like a video game character that hadn't been programmed to care about angles or distances. Same speed, same posture, same rhythm. He was dressed like someone's idea of a person, not modern, not old-fashioned, just approximate. A coat that had no texture, shoes that didn't bend, a face that looked drawn from memory by someone who'd only seen people as sketches in a textbook. And then God. He turned his head toward me, not naturally, not curiously, but like he was rotating a camera. His eyes weren't glowing or empty, they were just wrong, like the color was missing something. Not faded, incomplete. He didn't speak, but something in me heard, "You're early." I froze so hard I think my soul stopped. My breath wouldn't come. My spine felt like someone had poured ice water through it. And then simultaneously every porch light on the street flicked on. People stood in their doorways, silent, absolutely still. Staring at me, not scared, not angry, just resigned, like I'd broken something sacred. The man in the street glanced at them, then back at me. Then, without changing expression, he raised his hand and made this tiny gesture, like a conductor signaling a note. And the silence snapped. Sound came crashing back so violently I stumbled. The cicadas screamed. The wind slammed against me. A dog barked from blocks away. When I looked again, the man was gone. Everyone on the porches was gone too. Every door was closed. I ran inside like the house was on fire. The next morning, the town felt different. Not openly, not visibly, but people, adults, teens, even kids kept giving me these looks. Not suspicion, more like fear mixed with pity. At the grocery store, Mrs. Keene pulled my mom aside and whispered sharply. My mom's face drained completely. She didn't look at me the whole ride home. That night, my dad knocked on my door, and this man never knocks, and said, "You broke the minutes, they'll watch you now." I asked who they were. He said nothing, just closed the door. For the next week, I kept seeing shadows that didn't match anything, corners of rooms bending in ways they shouldn't. Reflections lagging by a millisecond, phones glitching at exactly 3:33 a.m. My name whispered in that bone-deep vibration like the footsteps, and the whole town watched me with this expression like, "Please don't make it worse." Then exactly 14 days later, at 3:33 a.m., I woke up to someone sitting at the foot of my bed, not moving, not breathing, just sitting there. The room was dark except for the faint streetlight glow, but I could see the outline of shoulders, the slope of a head. The shape of someone who wasn't supposed to be there. I didn't scream. I couldn't. The figure stood up slowly, too slowly, like each motion was being manually loaded, and then it walked to my window, not climbed out, not opened it, just walked into it. The glass rippled around the body like water, and then it was gone. After that, people stopped watching me. The weird reflections stopped. The silence didn't return. Everything went back to normal. Except sometimes when I stay up too late. I'll catch the clock glowing 3:33 a.m. and I'll hear that bone-deep vibration. Just one step, then nothing. I moved away a year later, new town, new life. But I still don't go outside between 333 and 336 a.m. And if I ever have kids, you already know I'm passing that rule on, even if I can't explain why. Okay, so this is probably going to sound like one of those "no way this actually happened" posts, but I swear on my left kidney that every word is true, and I still get full-body goosebumps thinking about it. I haven't talked about this in years because my therapist said it's a trauma memory that doesn't require external validation, which is therapy speak for "please stop scaring me," I guess. Anyway, where I grew up, there was this rule everyone knew. Do not open your door after midnight if someone knocks. No exceptions. I know people say stuff like that all the time for safety reasons, but ours wasn't about burglars or creeps or bad neighborhoods. We lived in the safest, most aggressively polite little town in the Midwest. People got excited about organic mulch. The wildest crime in 10 years was a guy stealing his neighbor's inflatable Halloween ghost. The rule wasn't about people. It was about something else. But again, no one explained the why. Not straight out kids heard stories. Adults changed the subject. Anyone who tried to ask questions about it got that weird "mind your own business" smile older folks do when they want to shut down a conversation without admitting they want to. I only knew 3 things with absolute certainty. Everyone followed the rule. Everyone pretended they didn't. No one even joked about breaking it. Until the night I did, and the night it broke itself. What started it all was my idiot teenage pride. I was 16, and convinced nothing could hurt me because my brain was still under construction. Plus, I'd never actually seen anything happen to anyone who broke the rule because nobody did, so I assumed it was just superstition like the town's version of not whistling in a graveyard. Then one night around 12:40 a.m., I was up playing video games, headset on, pizza rolls in the oven, living my best life. At 12:47, I heard a knock, not loud, not violent, just steady. Knock, knock, knock. I thought maybe my brother locked himself out again, so I paused the game and went to the door like a responsible older sibling. But when I grabbed the handle, this weird chill ran up my spine, not cold wrong, like my body was tapping the brakes, even though my brain hadn't caught up. Then I remembered the rule. My hand froze on the deadbolt. Another knock. Softer. Almost polite. And then, I swear to God, this is true. I heard my brother's voice on the other side of the door. "Come on, dude, let me in, it's freezing." Except something was off about the voice. Not the tone, not the words, the timing. My brother had this little way of speaking, always quick and overlapping words like he was trying to sprint through sentences, but the voice outside was too smooth, too spaced out, like someone playing my brother on slow motion. I called out, "Hold on, why don't you use your key?" For a full beat, there was quiet. Then the knock came again, a little harder. "Just open the door." It sounded almost annoyed, but not normal annoyed. Like someone imitating irritation without actually feeling it. I backed away. "Where's your key?" I asked again. A pause. Then the voice said perfectly calm, "I don't need a key. You're going to open it." My stomach dropped. I didn't answer, didn't breathe, didn't move. Then the thing outside tried the handle, gently at first, then harder, then like someone testing the structure. That's when I heard footsteps on the stairs, real ones. And my actual brother came up behind me holding a bowl of cereal like, "Why are you standing in the dark?" He was literally right next to me. I think I stopped existing for 2 full seconds. He saw my face frowned, then looked at the door. Another knock right in front of us. My brother whispered, "Don't answer, don't speak," which terrified me more than anything happening outside because he never took anything seriously. The fact that he suddenly knew what to do made my chest tighten. We backed away from the door inch by inch until we were in the kitchen. I grabbed a knife because apparently I thought butter knives stop supernatural horrors. The knocking stopped. For about 15 seconds, then it started moving. Not around the house, across the walls, like someone dragging their fingers along the siding. Slow, deliberate searching. We heard it reach the living room window, then the kitchen one, then the far side door. Each time the knocks were gentle, almost playful, like it was testing openings, seeing if we'd slip, learning us. My brother and I didn't talk, didn't breathe, didn't move. Then at 12:59 a.m., 1 minute before the safe time, the knocking stopped completely, not faded, not walked away, just ended like someone flipping a switch. We waited another 20 minutes before daring to look outside. Nothing, just our quiet, boring neighborhood, same driveway, same streetlights, same stupid inflatable ghost across the road. We didn't sleep that night. The worst part wasn't the knocking. It was the morning we told our parents, expecting them to freak out. Instead, my dad closed his eyes and sighed like he'd been waiting for this day. My mom didn't even look surprised. She just said, "Now you understand why we follow the rule." No panic, no anger, just this heavy sadness. That afternoon, 2 of our neighbors came by, one old guy and one woman from 2 houses down, and they didn't ask questions. They didn't offer sympathy. They just dropped off this laminated sheet, a printed list of new rules. Rules just for us. Stuff like, always close your curtains before sunset. Do not acknowledge any voices calling your name after dark. If you hear tapping on the windows, leave the room immediately. Never stand in front of the door after midnight. And the last one, it will return once. Do not let it speak. Do not let it in. I asked what that meant. No one answered. I didn't sleep for a week when it came back. I was the only one awake to hear it. 2 weeks later, same time, same gentle knock. But this time, the voice wasn't my brother's. It was mine. Perfectly copied, down to the pacing. Down to the tired edge I get when I'm stressed. Down to the exact way I say, "Hey," when I'm trying to sound harmless. "Let me in." I didn't move. "Come on," my voice said casual. "I know you're there." Then it spoke again, still my voice, but lower. Too low. "I can see you." I don't know why, but that broke me. I ran to my parents' room and woke my mom up sobbing like a little kid. She held my face, whispered, "Don't answer it." And we sat together until the knocking stopped. It hasn't come back since, but I never forgot that feeling, like something outside knew me, learned me, wanted to wear me like a mask. I moved out at 19. I live in a city now. Lots of noise, lots of people, no rules about knocking. But I swear, sometimes right around midnight, I'll hear a knock, 3 soft taps, never loud, never random. Just patient, and I don't answer, because I learned the rule the hard way. Don't open your door after midnight. You might not be the one who comes back inside. Okay, so this one still makes me wince thinking about it. I was interning at this tech company during college, fresh out of being starstruck by everything adult and professional. My supervisor, a guy named Mr. Clark, gave me a very simple rule on my first day. Don't touch the executive-only folder on the server. Seriously, don't even open it. Simple enough, right? Except, curiosity is basically built into me. The folder was right there, blinking at me like a neon sign screaming, "Open me." You know you want to, so about a week into my internship, I was sitting there, staring at it, trying to justify why I totally needed to look inside. I mean, it could be templates, maybe old HR forms, or even heaven forbid funny company memes. Totally harmless, right? I clicked it. Immediately, my heart dropped. Inside were files I had absolutely no right to see. There were spreadsheets showing executive salaries, performance reviews, and bonuses, plus sensitive internal emails discussing layoffs, firings, and company legal strategies. There were even personal files, travel itineraries, private phone numbers, and one folder titled HR Investigations Confidential. And because this is me, of course I clicked on a PDF called Pending Employee Warnings. I thought, maybe I should just see what's up. Big mistake. It contained detailed notes on employees under investigation, including things like harassment claims, performance failures, and some really personal medical information. I froze. I realized I was basically staring at everyone's darkest secrets, But then curiosity completely obliterated my common sense, and I started skimming more files just thinking, I'll close it after one more. Then disaster. My computer froze, I clicked, panicked, and suddenly a notification pops up on the server chat. Unusual activity detected in executive-only security has been notified. I panicked, I hit every key, tried to shut down, but the network had already logged everything. My supervisor, Mr. Clark, appeared in my office 5 minutes later like a predator sensing fear. His face was pale, his voice calm, but ice cold. "Did you touch the folder?" I tried stammering. I was curious." He sighed, not angry, disappointed. And then he sat me down and made me watch as IT pulled logs showing every single file I had opened, every email I peeked at, every spreadsheet I hovered over. It was a nuclear meltdown of personal and professional trust, and I was at the epicenter. But here's where it got worse, because I had touched files that included active HR investigations. Legal got involved. Suddenly, the company lawyers were talking about confidentiality breaches, potential lawsuits, and how even interns need to understand the weight of access privileges. I spent the next 2 weeks under essentially house arrest at the office. I could work, but my laptop was monitored. I had no access to anything sensitive, and I basically lived in fear that one slip-up would get me fired, or worse. My coworkers, they knew, everyone avoided me. I was officially the intern who opened the forbidden folder. Eventually, they let me go kindly, but firmly, and I left with a lesson burned into my soul. Curiosity is fine, but breaking rules you are explicitly told not to is a one-way ticket to disaster. Also, apparently the HR folder I opened triggered a review of security protocols for the entire company, which led to some firings. Not mine, thank God. But every time I think about that day, I shudder. Moral: the rules exist for a reason. Sometimes the do not touch folder is there because touching it could literally implode your career in ways you never imagined. Curiosity is a killer. Trust me. This one still haunts me. I was working with a small marketing agency, and one of the social media managers, let's call her Tara, had strict instructions not to post any content before approval. She was supposed to schedule a series of posts for a client's big product launch, but she figured, I know what I'm doing. They'll love it anyway. So she went ahead and scheduled a post directly to Instagram. Except instead of the polished graphic approved by the client, she accidentally posted an internal draft labeled, "Absolutely do not publish. Horrible mockup." The post went live, and within minutes, hundreds of people started commenting, some laughing, some mocking, and some outright criticizing the client for the poor branding. One of the images even contained inside jokes about the CEO that were meant to stay in-house. Tara immediately realized the mistake and tried to delete it, but the post had already been shared by multiple users, and screenshots were circulating. The client called, livid, demanding an explanation. Tara's manager came into the office, red-faced and furious, demanding to know why she had ignored explicit instructions. What followed was absolute chaos. PR had to issue an apology. The client considered pulling their contract, and Tara spent 2 weeks essentially under quarantine, meaning she wasn't allowed to schedule posts even for minor clients. Every time the client's account had a minor mistake, Tara got blamed. Eventually, the agency implemented a new policy: never let anyone post without a 2-person verification system. Tara, she eventually got promoted to a role with zero access to social media accounts. Moral: some rules are not just suggestions. They're there because one accidental click can blow up your career reputation and entire company. I had a classmate, Tom, in university. Professors warned everyone not to print or share the exam solutions set before the final. Tom thought he was smart. He printed a copy for personal reference. Unfortunately, he left the solutions on a library printer, and someone else took a picture and uploaded it to a student group chat. Within hours, the exam content had spread across the campus. Professors caught wind and called an emergency meeting. Tom faced disciplinary action and was banned from taking the final in the normal exam setting. He had to take an oral exam under supervision. His GPA suffered, and he became a cautionary tale. Students would whisper, "Don't be the Tom of this class." Moral: one small act of rule breaking can spiral into consequences far beyond your control.